talk to you about our second project, K20 Class Walk. It seems that it started. So we partnered with the K20 Center to try and create a mobile application that could improve education in Oklahoma. The K20 Center is an education research institution whose mission is to cultivate a collaborative network among schools that promotes innovation through leadership development, shared learning, and technological integration. We focused in on school administrators to accomplish this task because we believe we would have better access to them via K20's vast network of school administrators. Also believe that they would have greater access to mobile technology, and that they would be more willing than students and teachers to purchase such mobile technologies. We then focused in on one of the tasks that is foundational to the role that school administrators play in improving and managing schools, the classroom walkthrough. So what is the classroom walkthrough? The classroom walkthrough is a research-based process that allows school administrators to quickly collect school-wide data that then informs their professional development decisions. Now what this might look like typically is 3 to 5 minute visits to classrooms wherein school administrators observe and record teaching and learning that is occurring in the classroom. This teaching and the things that they're looking for are research-based teaching strategies. School administrators may perform several walkthroughs during a week over the course of a school year. However, it can be difficult to accomplish the goal of the walkthrough task. In a survey we sent out to about 1,400 administrators and receiving about 110 responses as to date, 70% said that their current walkthrough system is very inefficient. We looked at why that is and looked at their technology use. And the vast majority of them are using paper forms to conduct these classroom walkthroughs over other technologies. And in conversations with school administrators, many of them said they are simply too busy to write down the things that they need to look for and then manually collect and analyze that data so they can act upon it in a meaningful way. We also discovered that school administrators do in fact have access to mobile technologies. 71% said they have access to an iPad, either through personal ownership or the school district. Also, there's significant demand for a mobile application to address this need. 85% of the school administrators said they believed a mobile app would improve their walkthrough process. And 75% said they would purchase an app out of pocket to make this process more efficient. So how are we going to solve this current inefficiency and address the demand for a mobile application? We'll do it through K20 Class Walk, a comprehensive all-in-one walkthrough application based on K20's research strategies for best teaching practices. It will be affordable, user-friendly, and customizable. We'll make it user-friendly by incorporating the most requested features school administrators said would be key to a walkthrough application that would improve their tasks. These features are an intuitive user interface, the ability to automatically analyze data that is collected, connection to professional development resources based on the information observed, as well as archiving past walkthroughs and calendaring so that they can see where they have been for the sake of organizing and managing their walkthrough schedules. Also, another key feature was that the app needed to be customizable so that administrators would be unlimited in the kind of research-based strategies that they would be looking for. So to talk more about the features we want to incorporate into the app, I'll hand it over to one of our developers, Liv.
Thank you, Chair. K20 Glasswork has been designed with school administrators in mind. We will build a simple, intuitive interface that streamlines the workflow process. The administrators will be able to easily and quickly select questions, predefine questions, and add into their own workflow data forms. They can also create and save their customized questions for their workflows. To help administrators to interpret the data from walkthrough, we have designed and will integrate a data analysis tool into classwork. Administrator will be able to again easily and quickly select data by time frames and questions, and classwork will output the charts and graphs, and this will help administrators to analyze trends over data they have collected. Classwork also provides an archive system to store past walkthroughs, and this will allow administrators to have a quicker and easier review of walkthrough they already done in the past. We also incorporate a search feature for easier navigation. Administrators can search for specific walkthroughs by just entering into the search bar, for example, a teacher's name or keywords for a question they're looking for in the walkthroughs. Together, the streamlined walkthrough, the data analysis toolkit, and the archive system will be included in our prototype by the end of the semester. Moving forward for future development, we plan on implement the tutorial system feature which show administrators how to use classwork. We also incorporate the calendar feature that helps school administrators to plan for walkthrough schedules. We also want to implement the data export feature that allows administrators to share walkthrough results with teachers. We will incorporate the resource suggestions feature that this feature actually recommends professional development resources such as videos, lesson plans, or other forms of professional development resources based on walkthrough data. Lastly, we will implement the central database feature that allows administrators to benchmark their walkthroughs against other schools. In summary, in K20 classwork iPad app, we are incorporating features that will meet all the needs of administrators, school administrators, and help classroom walkthrough efficient. Next, Caroline will address about our app's initial market and how we will reach it.
Thank you, Lib. Currently, there are 2,020 administrators in the state of Oklahoma. Out of these administrators, 71% have iPads, either through their personal use or they personally own them, or they're funded through their school system. Out of the administrators in Oklahoma with iPads, a little over 1,200 are within K20's network. So to reach our initial network of K20's network, we will begin by first emailing the users on K20's network to urge them to download our app, Classwalk. Next, we'll upload information to K20's website, such as customer reviews, a tutorial system, and just different product specifications about Classwalk. We'll also attend K20's leadership conferences, which they hold 4 times a year. Most importantly, K20 has expressed that they'd like to give student administrators a 50% discount if they are in K20's network. In a statewide market, we will first use social media to get the word out about our product. This is advertising through Twitter and Facebook, as well as simple word of mouth. We also will attend academic workshops and conferences, such as the I-CCEW Leadership Conference. Last, we'll pursue state funding through state endorsement. The State Department of Education of Oklahoma has already expressed interest in our application Classwalk. So now that we know a little bit about how we intend to reach our market, how are we actually going to get the application into the hands of the administrators? First, we have to finish the development of K20 Classwalk, and then we'll hand it off to K20 because they will own it and maintain the product. They will submit the idea of Classwalk to Apple in order to get it onto the App Store. Once it's on the App Store, administrators will be able to download Classwalk straight to their iPad. Before downloading, the administrators must purchase the app from the App Store, with a 30% cut going to Apple. The remainder of the cash flow will stream directly to K20 because they own the application. Once downloaded, the administrators will be able to collect data from the teachers and analyze this data to recommend professional development resources to enhance teaching curriculum. In turn, this will help improve education overall for the students of Oklahoma. Now that we've told you how we intend to get the application into the hands of the administrators, Richard will tell you a little bit about what competitors might stand in our way.
Thanks, Caroline. So we looked at three main criteria for the app that we're going to create to compare to the competitors out in the marketplace. And we'll start with the first one of user friendliness. For the other applications, they either require training that costs money, they rely on Wi-Fi access, or they're extremely complex in the user interface design. Our application will have in-app tutorial system built in and will have a very user-friendly design. Next, the affordability. The pricing ranges from $75 of teacher's license to up to $2,000 building license per year. Our app will be $10 per person per license for non-K20 users. And last, we'll look at the customization. While the iObservation and TeachScape are restricted to one framework, our app will be customizable in all aspects. And now that we understand how our app that we are going to create will outbeat the competition, next we'll see how K20 is giving us a competitive advantage. K20 has a synthesized walkthrough process, which they've taken from three standards within Oklahoma that are being used, which are the Danielson, Marzano, and the Tulsa TLE framework. They've also taken Common Core of math and English. Next, K20 has an extensive professional network of resources. These include video tutorials, learning institutes, conferences, and mentoring networks. And the mentoring networks allow for teachers to engage and learn with other teachers from other districts. And lastly, we can enter the market through K20's administrators of over 1,700, and where they're actually adding over 90 plus per year into their network. Now that we understand how K20 is giving us a competitive advantage, Tyler will talk to us about how the app will be sustainable.
Currently, you can see that our app is affordable due to the low cost it takes for it to be developed, maintained, and marketed. Currently, the majority of our costs comes from continued development and also consistent maintenance of the app. Over time, we will be increasing our adoption rate of the app. With this, we'll have to incur also technology costs of buying additional servers to support this increasing growth. Also, we incur costs from marketing. This will be mostly due to travel costs, where we'll go and advertise our app. The key component that makes our app affordable is the fact that we'll also aim to grow nationally. Our app will be priced at a very low cost of $10 for a yearly subscription. This is significantly lower compared to our competitors. We're also, in the spirit of improving education and also increasing K20's network, we will offer a special discount, as mentioned before, of 50% off of the yearly subscription to users in K20's network. Our total market is, after utilizing after leveraging K20's network, we will then aim for a total market, potentially nationwide, of 450,000 users. From this potential market, we will aim to increase our user base quarterly from anywhere from 300 to 500 users. In the beginning of 2013, we hope to have over 1,000 users. This is after already leveraging K20's network and rapidly increasing our adoption. By the end of 2014, through marketing efforts and also word of mouth, we'll increase nationally to over 3,000 users. During 2015 is when we'll start being profitable. At this point, we'll have over 5,000 users and project that by the end of 2015, we'll have over 7,000 users. So what does our deliverables look like? We will continue to develop our app and aim to gain also implement question frameworks and also the ability to do data analysis and note-taking capabilities. Moving into the summer, we'll split the development into 4 sprints, which will include the email, the resource recommendation, the calendar, and also the central database where all the walkthrough data will be stored. Focusing on commercialization, we'll begin focusing on K20's network and leveraging that and their conferences that they attend. We'll expand from there and go to other Oklahoma academic events and advertise our app there. By the end of the semester, we'll provide a very specific report on the features and specifications that our app will provide. Currently, to meet some of the financial costs, we will begin pursuing funding in the forms of grants and sponsorship. Near the completion of our app, we'll launch a pilot program to identify the bugs and other technical issues that our app might have. And by the end of December 2012, we will send our app to Apple to be approved to be sold and distributed through the App Store. Finally, we're considering a light version of ClassWalk, which will essentially allow a user to do a basic walkthrough. However, there will be optional in-app purchases that they may purchase to unlock additional functionality. I'd like to thank everyone for being here, and again, let's open up the floor for questions.
Looking at your pricing schedule there, and the competitors and their prices and their for licensing and for training, it's not clear to me why you would be prepared to leave so much money on the table. If your app is equal in capacity and nature to their applications.
So is the question, could you
Why did you price it so low compared to all your competitors? Is your application as good as theirs? Does it provide as much, use?
Right.
Is it as useful?
Right. Well, as we said in the survey that we sent out, we asked the school administrators what were the most important features that they wanted in a walkthrough application, and so those will be the things that will guide the app as well. And also, as I said, the customizability or customization of the app. Some of the competitors, they are restricted to just one of the frameworks. For example, the I-Observation platform. We went to Norman School District where they're using that right now, and that's based on an evaluation system. And walkthroughs are not evaluations; they can be based on a number of different research-based teaching strategies that administrators are looking for. So that's part of how we want to be better than competitors. And anyway, the competitors, when we looked at them, they have their prices, it's priced very high, and we believe that's probably because it costs quite a bit to maintain or to develop and maintain an application. However, giving ourselves a kind of modest projection of growth, we tried to price it as low as possible. And the reasoning for that is because the initial goal was to provide a service that would increase or improve education. So that's the reasoning behind a lower price for the app.
So that leads to the question, are you in business or do you have altruistic motives for doing this?
Both.
Well, if you're in business, then I would say that you're leaving a lot of money on the table.
Well, another aspect of that is we actually asked we actually asked administrators how much they would be willing to pay. The average number was anywhere from $10 to $25 for this app. We wanted to make it cheap enough that administrators could actually purchase it out of their pocket if their school district wouldn't fund it. Any questions?
I think he's speaking to why are the other ones so expensive then, and why are they being used if it's, like, what's the difference that makes that price able to be so much higher?
Oh, sorry, I may have muddled my answer, but initially I believe that they're priced so high because it does cost quite a bit to develop and maintain an application. A lot of these other applications are doing some similar things and being able to aggregate data and have it sit somewhere in like a central database, and that gets into like server costs and that sort of thing. Then also you have to continue upgrading software to get customer feedback and such. So we think that's one of the reasons why it's priced so high.
Do you think their value chain is different? People who are paying for it are different? The way that it gets to the market is different?
I was gonna add one thing onto what you asked, I'm sorry, and then I'll answer your question. They also have licensed a specific framework to their application, which I think is where the bulk of their cost is, because they had to pay money to use that copyrighted program. And we won't have to do that because it's actually K20's compilation of standards. So it's their personal use, and we have license to use that. And then, sorry, and then your question, will you repeat that really quickly?
Is their value chain different? Do different buyers, and does it get to them in different ways?
I think, as I'm kind of, are you talking about marketing at all?
I'm thinking, right now, the schools will pay the $2,500. And what does it take to convince a school to pay $2,500 for a piece of software? It takes a sales force. It takes people to go and talk to them. That's expensive. Right? So all of your points are, I think, are probably true, but this is another point that would drive the cost higher.
K20 putting any kind of monetary value on having access to the information? Are they hoping that these administrators will upload it and then there's some value to the data they're getting? Is that subsidizing the cost at all?
No, I think just the ability to aggregate data, but then because if it's on a database, then our systems could analyze the data that's coming in and then suggest based on that data professional development resources to them. So I don't think
Which they would, K20 would sell to them?
no.
I guess I'm trying to understand if this is kind of the razor blade analogy.
Well, K20 is a nonprofit. It's actually state funded. And so the purpose of it is to improve education in Oklahoma. So they're not, while they don't want to lose money off of anything, their purpose is not necessarily to make money. They more so just want to improve education. So they wouldn't be charging for these resources unless you attend a conference or one of those. Those are actually have additional costs. But we also see those people that will attend the conferences, they would give a discount to use our application. So.
You said several times in the presentation that K20 would own the app. Does the university retain any ownership, or the developers who've been working on it?
We are in my financial projection and in talks with Kelly Tran, who's a former employee at K20 who worked at K20. She said we projected in that K20 developers would continue working on it in the future, so it would be totally K20's application.
What about the work that the developers who are employed by the university are doing right now?
Right, that we're factoring that into the summer time span of completing development. When in talks with the professional developers, they requested that if we were able to give them a document that outlined specifically everything the app needed to do, step by step, that in a 3-month time span they could complete an app, and then the goal is to have it ready for the next fall semester.
I think maybe the question might have been closer to like who owns it, not necessarily the timeline, but so what percentage of ownership would people that are working on it now have versus people who maybe work on it later, and K20 versus OU? Do you have any idea?
That's something we'll still need to analyze, but I think at the moment the initial goal is to make it a product that is entirely K20's.
So we're giving intellectual property developed at the university all claims at K20.
Well, K20 is part of the university, so it's still within the university.
What about the developers who are working on it?
So Liz writing the code, does she own that code?
That's definitely a development question that I'm not too good on answer.
So could we just give away all of our intellectual property because it's, for the good of Oklahoma? And what about the inline imaging? Should we just give that away because it'll help breast cancer?
PUFAs.
Or PUFAs?
Then that's definitely something that we'll consider as moving forward, that everything that goes into this app, we'll look at making it, we'll look at the implications of making that intellectual property that the university owns, so that it's entirely ours and not just something that someone else could rip off.
The university has an intellectual property policy that governs all intellectual property that is developed at the university. So you guys should probably read that, it's pretty standard for whatever product is being produced.
One of our goals on that also was to have the developers that are working on it this semester. We were hoping that they would continue to work on it this summer, and that would be when we would shift it off to K20. So they would be employed, if they're not employed by CCW, they'd be employed by maybe K20's developers.
I think the point that we're making is there's a difference between who is paying someone's salary and the ownership they have in the intellectual property that they're creating. And there's, like Val said, there's a pretty standard procedure that we follow. And so making sure that you understand that before you get up and pitch a product and saying K20 owns it, K20 owns it, K20 owns it, to a room full of people whose job is to protect the intellectual property at the university might be a good thing to do before the final presentation.
Within this policy, there's also pretty standard things about the royalty rates and, who owns what, drives the money, where the money goes. And like you guys said, for these other things, there's a lot of maintenance costs, but there's still going to be maintenance costs at K20. So going back to his point, why is there such a huge price difference? And even though K20 is a nonprofit, the university is also a nonprofit, but that doesn't mean that they don't need money to exist. And so if they can make money and therefore don't have to write grants and spend a lot of resources on that, then maybe they should consider that.
You said part of the reason you could operate at such a low price was because you were going to make it a national product, and that seemed to be a large part of your model. It seemed like you were planning on making it a national product rather quickly because you were profitable by 2015 or something. You talked a little bit about how you're going to pitch it in Oklahoma. How are you planning to expand?
Well, we've done a lot of research on our competitors. I've actually called several of our competitors, and the one that we based a lot of our stuff on was iWalk Observation, and they actually expanded in a matter of 1 year. They expanded their product into 14 states and 2 countries. And they said the majority of how they did that was just word of mouth and email. So that's why we base it on a lot of the companies that we looked at, because they saw rapid adoption increase across America as well as just within the state.
Speaking to the differences between your two products, you were talking about how you did research here in Oklahoma, so you think that that has appeal necessarily to other states? Or it's not just a problem specific to Oklahoma users? Does that make sense? Like, you were talking a lot about how their products are different than yours. Yours is tailored specifically to these needs that you did surveys for. All the surveys were Oklahoma people. So do you think that people in other states necessarily will have those same problems and issues?
Right. When in researching walkthroughs, one of the things that was a little confusing to us at first was that right now across the nation, states are overhauling their evaluation methods, and so in Oklahoma specifically, there are 3 evaluation methods that are being used, and the researchers behind these have also developed apps that are based on their evaluation methods, and then they've also provided a walkthrough form based on these evaluation methods. However, a walkthrough doesn't need to be based on one evaluation method. It's just a way of observing information in any kind of research-based teaching strategies that an administrator thinks might be important to their school. So it can be a pretty general thing that they're looking for. And a lot in conversations with school administrators, a lot of these different frameworks are looking for the same thing, just worded differently. Just like that, one framework is looking for technology, but their evaluation forms are different than, like, the Charlotte Danielson one is different from the Marzano one. And so we don't need to license their intellectual property. We can just, give them something like, give our teachers and students using technology effectively in the classroom, and that's not protected.
We actually need to move on. We're getting pretty close. Actually, we're technically about 30 minutes over time. I think you guys have probably had enough. But let's move on to just some general feedback.